As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
This is Kevin Jackson of the Black Sphere Radio Show. Listen to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
What's going on in your head? I think your brain is gone dead.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Lachlan Marquet of the Washington Free Beacon, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
The ass says he doesn't have a horse in this race, but Retractor knows he does. Now he's got egg on his face. The donkey's on the lookout, owned by a kid. They can say it was a crap, but Retractor knows.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Welcome back to the show. This is the final half hour of the final broadcast day of the week for the Right Mics. This is Michael Hausen with Mike Miller. If you'd like to call in this segment, please do. The number is 412-567-6879. Miller, it was great to have Gabriel on, obviously.
You know, again, you and I are talking about it, but we could have, we joked about, you joked about it. That is a guy we could have on, for the 4 hours, that you suggested. And he's just fascinating. We're very fortunate to have the guests on this show that we have.
Right. One thing I do want to talk about real quick, article that just went up of mine a couple of hours ago. Mm-hmm. The president submitted his budget earlier this week.
Okay.
And obviously, we talked specifically about the climate resiliency toolkits. It's going to get no votes, just like last year's. Last year, his proposal last year got 2 votes. A couple of years ago,
two previous years before that got 0 votes from Democrats.
0, yeah, no votes at all from anyone. And well, here's the deal: is that obviously Obama doesn't write the budget. That's a congressional thing. He doesn't even the budgetary process. He doesn't even have to sign it. By the way, did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
But I found 6 points that I thought were interesting, and here's the reason why I bring up his budget. Not because it has a snowball's chance in hell of actually making it, because it's certainly not, right?
Oh, and he knows that as well.
And he knows that as well. But to me, it is an interesting blueprint. Because he's got he's got an election to think about 2 years from now, not necessarily for himself, but he is at some point, you could imagine, at least a little tiny bit, going to be involved in trying to pass the baton to Hillary, right?
Well, I don't know so much about Hillary because, there's that whole thing going on. The Clintons hate the Obamas and vice versa. So we don't know for sure, but he definitely wants to pass the baton to a Democrat to come into the White
Right.
House, and to as many, hopefully they can regain the Senate, they being the Democrats, because the map does not look as favorable for Republicans in 2016 as it did in 2014. So yeah, definitely that's all he's thinking about right now, because he knows everything that he's done. He's not going anywhere upward in the poll to speak of. So you're exactly right.
Right. So, thinking about the election stuff, I'm looking at his proposals not from a specific mockable idea, but
Right.
just this is the latest and greatest thinking from the Democrat progressive left. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I know, so I went through the budget when we read a bunch. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing, but I read through a bunch of stuff and a bunch of reviews, and I read a big chunks of the budget itself. Read through his comments on it. The thing that I noticed most significantly is a massive redistribution of income via changes in the tax code.
Were you sitting down? Because I'm sure when you read about wealth redistribution as being key, you were shocked.
No, but it was surprising to me how front and center. There's a graph that the Tax Policy Center put through showing where the impact of taxes are going to go, and they calculated change in after-tax income. The lowest quintile, so the lowest 20% of people in the country are going to get a significant increase in their after-tax income. The top quintile gets a significant decrease in their income, and the second, third, and fourth quintiles, the other 60% of the country, basically remains unchanged. So it is a significant move of money from the top of the country to the bottom of the country in terms of after-tax income. That's
Right.
the number one thing coming out of this deal.
Right. And listen, you guys, I am not normally a graph fan unless they're simple. And this one is. And you need to go to ijreview.com and check out Howsom's post on this, because you don't even need to know the numbers. If you understand what the graph represents, and as one of Howsom's favorite words, it's striking.
Striking. Yeah. So number two, and this is interesting as well, is that right now the government is subject to sequester mandated spending caps.
Right.
This budget blows through that by 7%. So it is a big, huge middle finger to the sequester caps that are currently in place. Rolls right over the top of it.
Exactly. And he's as much as said he wants to do that.
Right. Number three, this I don't even quite understand how it would happen. $1 billion to Central American countries to, quote, minimize the pressures of illegal immigration on the United States. I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know which particular countries this goes to, and how does $1 billion sent from us to them reduce pressure?
Well, and excuse me, I haven't clicked on this link because you haven't linked there in that third point to what? I mean, to do campaigns to try to keep them home. I mean, that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, you know what? I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. Is there, what, 500,000 people that live in Central America? So that's
500,000, you say?
500 million, rather.
Yeah, because
I don't know, 300,000. So maybe that's $3 a person. $3 or $4 a person.
There are millions of people, but I would, yeah. I mean, some kind of, well, maybe not just, like he likes to hand out free. I'm doing air quotes, free money and benefits and everything here, entitlements again in air quotes. Maybe this is more because, to your point, I mean, $1 billion, spread among however many millions of people, not going to go real far. But maybe it's like campaigns or something, or maybe it's infrastructure or something. But that's the only thing I can get is that,
I don't know.
Which runs completely contrary. By the way, we got to move on to 4, 5, and 6. But him doing that, proposing the $1 billion, runs completely contrary to his view, after he's out of office, of course, to the ballot box. here because, you know, the more of these folks we can get here, eventually the more complete control the Democrats have of elections.
Yeah, so I don't think it actually has anything to do. My opinion is it has absolutely nothing to do with minimizing pressure of illegal immigration. It's just spreading the wealth around and fairness and equality.
So that's what you. Well, that's an interesting point. So you think this is just kind of a not clandestine, because I'm sure it's spelled out. It has to be, but this is just a way to not wait till people actually get here to be funded by taxpayers, but he wants to like start the process early. Dude, this is brilliant. What you just said is brilliant because in effect he could be actually seeding the effort, if you will. So he could be he could seeding as an SEEDED. He could be saying, look, here's some money from the US. Just you can't even imagine how much of it you're going to get once you come here. So that that's funny. I mean, brilliant or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Next one. $500 million for infrastructure spending, highways, bridges, and high-speed rail.
We talked about that from the very beginning.
Big surprise. Now, this one really bothered me because this I can definitely see if the Democrat candidate is Pocahontas. I can see this one being a huge big deal. A one-time 14% tax on overseas profits by domestically based firms.
Okay, so I have an opinion on this. Excuse me. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. Top rate, 35%. Microsoft. I read this earlier this week. I knew it. I didn't know the numbers, and now I've forgotten them. A whole bunch of billions of dollars parked overseas, and that point was part of a story that Apple. That Apple borrows money to pay taxes here because it's cheaper for them to borrow money and pay the interest rate on the borrowed money to pay the taxes than it is to repatriate their overseas holdings, right? So actually, this is not a bad idea, with the exception of that 14% ought to be maybe more like 5%. Well, are you surprised I just said what I just said?
Yeah. Why? I mean, basically, what's happened is, you know, companies like Apple, their balance sheet offshore cash is massive, and they don't pay tax, like you said, till it's repatriated. So this is going after that as a one-time deal. Why would you support that at all? Why would you just support them ever doing that?
I would support it in conjunction with maybe I should have said that with lowering corporate tax rates here, because obviously we want to keep that capital in the country, do we not? But
I don't think we want to care what a business does about their capital one way or another, Miller.
I understand that, but you know, it's the same thing. Here I am surprising and probably pissing off conservative friends. Same thing with an individual, you know, the whole concept of, you know, offshore Cayman Islands investment accounts to avoid taxes in the country. You know, I'm just not sure that is completely fair.
Well,
Dude,
it's not legal. You are not.
It happens.
Yes, but here's the difference, Mike, is that not disclosing offshore assets and income as an individual living here in the United States is against the law and runs contrary to the IRS code. These companies doing this, it's precisely what the code requires and allows.
Well, no,
it's two totally different. You're just comparing apples and oranges right here.
Well, the whole thing irritates the crap out of me. I mean, back in the day, okay, and I don't know that it still happens, we didn't even have to go out of the country as it relates to corporations. Do you remember the thing? And again, maybe it still happens. This is a Delaware corporation. Do you remember ever seeing that?
Yeah, of course.
Incorporating in Delaware, apparently much cheapest in the nation, I would guess, than incorporating wherever you exist. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's more of an anti-government thing because, you know, if you have to do stuff to avoid paying taxes, then the taxes, I don't know. It just the whole thing. I've just always been perplexed about it, and I get irritated every time I read something like this.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is you just started talking about how the tax code can be improved, which is its own separate week